Put down that camera and strap in. It's time for a new episode of TogChat Live. Get ready for 60 minutes of wall-to-wall photography, including photo news, tips, and your photography questions in real time, with answers from your host, Olympus Visionary Joe Edelman.
Hey gang, that's me. Thanks for joining me for another live episode of TogChat. I'm your host, Joe Edelman, and for the next 90 minutes, my mission is to help photographers like you develop a solid understanding of the hows and whys behind great photographs. So as always, gang, please do me a solid. Go ahead, hit that thumbs up, like right down there, or go ahead and share the link, tog.chat/live. Let your photography friends know that we are streaming live on YouTube right now. This is a special Monday night edition because I'm going to be on the road Wednesday night. Facebook, Twitter, they're the fastest way to get the word out. So go ahead, really quick, send it out. Hey, let's try this again, gang. Apparently we are having some YouTube connectivity issues here tonight. I really don't know what the issue was with that, but hopefully you guys are seeing me. Let me know if we are back on here and if you are catching a stream. But I did get a notification earlier that YouTube was having some issues. So we're gonna try and get through this. Hope that everything works out okay. So seriously though, let me know, just give me a quick heads up in the chat. Let me know that you guys can see what's cooking here, and we'll go from there. Pause, but you are back. All right, Gord, thank you. And so hopefully it'll stay that way. We'll see what's going down here, okay? So I got a lot of people here already, which is great. I wasn't sure how many people we'd have here for a Monday night. Obviously, Gord is here, Lawrence is here, Peter. I got Ken from Cheshire in the UK, Ajax in Texas, Robert also in Texas and San Antonio. We got Lynn from New York, David from Georgetown, Indiana. So it's good to see some of the regulars and also see some faces that, or names I should say, that we don't normally get to see because they have other commitments on a Wednesday night. So actually, I don't have a lot of announcements for you. I will tell you that this Wednesday, so this week, I'm going to be in Charlotte, North Carolina at Biggs Camera. So let me just bring that up and I'll share that part of the screen with you just in case you have not signed up. The afternoon photo walk is sold out, but there are still openings for the morning presentation that I'll be doing. So I'll share that link with you guys right here. So if you are in the Charleston area, or Charlotte area, excuse me, and did not know about the event, you are so warned. Okay, and then one event that has been added to my schedule, and unfortunately it's not in here yet, but it'll be going up this week. If you are local to me in southeastern Pennsylvania, on Monday, October 7th, I'll be doing an event that evening in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. And then, of course, the end of October, that's the fun one, we'll be at Photo Plus in New York. So I'll be there all 3 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I will be presenting on the Olympus stage. My understanding is it's going to be 12:30 each day. And they're giving me a full hour to present. So we're going to do some cool stuff. And I think right now, kind of what I'm focusing on is I'm going to be doing some really, really cool stuff with light painting, but in a trade show with the lights on. So obviously, yes, we're going to be using a little bit of the Olympus Live composite, but all of it, I will be showing you guys how you can also do it with those other brands as well. Eric, man, thank you so much for the super chat. I really, really appreciate it, okay? Make sure you watch it later in the week when you get a chance. So, so Photo Plus, by the way, if you've never been to a photography trade show, I will tell you Photo Plus is kind of the one to try and get to. It's definitely the biggest one in the US. They're making some changes on it this year, which I actually think are going to be good. So it used to be pretty expensive to do these trade shows because there were two halves to it. There was the trade show portion, which is just all the vendors who want to sell you stuff, right? And there was the educational track where you could go and you could take classes from people like me or Lindsay Adler or Peter Hurley, all those different people. That was pretty expensive. So Photo Plus this year, they're dropping the educational track. Now, a lot of people think, oh my God, that's horrible. I actually think it's great, and here's why. That puts more pressure, good pressure, on the manufacturers, the camera manufacturers, all of the vendors that are in the hall to provide education. And the best part is, provide it for free. So like with Olympus, I know Olympus, I'll be there teaching. Tracy McGlasky will be teaching. Scott Bourne, if you're into wildlife and birds, he's going to be there, and I'm sure he's going to have some insane animal to photograph. He always does. He has the coolest birds that he works with. So that's just an Olympus. You know, Nikon, Canon, Sony, they always have booths there set up. But I really think we're going to see a lot more education coming from the smaller vendors as well. And that way, you're seeing it right on the trade show floor. You can come and go as you please. You are seeing it right next to the gear, so that you actually have the ability to go pick up the gear and check out the gear yourself. You're not just watching it up on a stage or seeing it in a classroom with like 400 people in the room, that kind of stuff. So I think it's actually going to be a really cool change. So, but anyway, that comes up the end of the month. That's October 24th, 25th, 26th. It's at the Javits Center in New York. Definitely a good time. There's always some camera announcements from different manufacturers. And no, I don't know who's announcing what, but I'm just saying every year, you know, Tamron or Sigma, they'll announce a couple of lenses. Some camera company will announce a camera or two. So there's always cool stuff, a lot of buzz. Definitely worth checking out if you can get to New York. Okay. All right. So actually, I got a few questions here already. We had some really good ones coming right before we started. I have those, but I got room for more, so start typing. If you're here, what are you struggling with? What would you like to talk about? What can we try and make clearer for you? So the first question that I had here, this one came in my Facebook group, and let's see, this is, there it is, okay. This is from Renata. Have you ever used the Wally-Mex Mover 400 TTL, and would you recommend it for outdoor photography? So, Renata, I'm not going to lie to you. When I read this, I had no idea what that was. So, I did go ahead and Google it just so that I could at least, you know, get the specs, see what it is. So, this is what this thing is. It is fairly expensive, 598 euros, okay? So, you know, it's a little bit pricey, but basically it's kind of like a Godox, right? It's a 400 watt second studio strobe, lithium battery. So that being said, would I recommend it for outdoor photography? Well, I'm not going to recommend it only because I'm not familiar with it, right? So if I can change your question and say, would it work for outdoor photography? Well, it depends, right? It sounds to me like what you're asking me is, could I be one of those zombie photographers that wants to go outside and overpower the sun in every single picture that I take, just like all those other people on Instagram and YouTube and all that stuff are doing? Yeah, I mean, I could do that. So this is a 400 watt second strobe. I could do that with a 200 watt second strobe. If I want to be lazy and I want my work to look exactly like those zombie photographers, well then I should get a 600 watt second strobe, because then I could go out at high noon and I could do it without paying any attention to my background or anything else that's going on and just completely blow out the sun, right? So it really depends on what your needs are there. Unfortunately, if you follow me, you guys know that I'm not a fan of that whole thing. And the only reason I'm not a fan of it is because everybody does it. Why do you want to do what everybody does? That's not how you make your work look unique. It's actually pretty boring, right? So that being said, do I recommend it? I don't recommend it because I don't know it. But would it work? Yeah, I mean, absolutely, okay? And by the way, I learned something, so we will thank Renata for this. While I was looking up this flash, I noticed something, because this, I believe this company, and I don't know for a fact, but from what I could tell, just a quick Google glance, I think this is maybe like some German brand or made in China, but sold mostly in Germany. Anyway, I noticed over here in the link, Pulsey Buff products. So interestingly enough, Buff is finally available in Europe. And maybe this has been there for a while, but you know they're not a big fan of mine, right? So it's not like they reached out and said, hey, Joe, could you tell everybody? But look, I have nothing against Buff, so I do want to let you guys know, if you're watching me from Europe, apparently now you can get Buff products in Europe. Has the 2-year warranty, all that good stuff. And what it does here, when you click it, it takes you to another website, flitzenflash.com. But it's basically like a European version of the Buff site. Okay, so that's awesome. I mean, all of it's in euros. So it looks like they have, finally gotten a European distributor. Because if you guys remember, when I did my video back when on the Digibee, I got blasted because you couldn't buy the Buff products outside the US. And then eventually I wound up changing over to the Honey Badgers from Interfit because of that, because the Honey Badgers, you can get them anywhere in the world, right? So that's kind of the good news. Now, I will point out something though, and I know I'm going to get myself in trouble for pointing this out, but when I did that video about the Honey Badger and talked about the fact that I learned that the Buff Digibees were not available outside the country, I pointed out in that video that I was concerned for the Paul C. Buff brand because at that time, Mr. Buff had passed away. Mr. Buff was the company. He was the guy that dreamed up these flashes. He was the guy that designed these flashes. He was their chief engineer. He was it. He was the innovation behind Paul C. Buff. Since the time that he passed away, their main flash product that they've come out with has been a remote control with sliders, right? That's it, okay? In fact, I didn't even look here with this stuff. I mean, maybe they have some new umbrellas. Maybe they're new. Maybe some light stands. But the strobes, it's same strobes, right? It's all the same stuff. There's been nothing new that's come out. And I talked about the fact that I was concerned about their ability to innovate. I was concerned about their ability to keep creating new technology that fits with where the photography world is going. And some of you may remember, I was blasted hard by Buff users and another YouTuber who's a big Buff fan. I was blasted for just being a shill, for jumping ship, for not believing in Buff. And here we are like a year and a half, almost 2 years later. Who was right? Just saying, right? Buff has no new products, nothing, zip, zero. They have released no new strobes since Mr. Buff passed away. So what does that tell you? It takes nothing away from, let me be clear before I get slammed again, it takes nothing away from the fact that Paul C. Buff Company has incredible customer service. They're based in Nashville, Tennessee, top-notch customer service, best in the industry, hands down. It takes nothing away from the fact that their strobes, the Einsteins, the Digibees, the Alien Bees, awesome. Absolutely awesome. And they're worth every penny. It takes nothing away from that. But the fact of the matter is, when you compare the Buff products to what's happening from a technology standpoint with, companies like Profoto, who I think is overpriced, but still, and companies like Godox, Buff is not keeping up. They are not innovating. They are not generating new product. The simple reality is, if you are a smart consumer, you have to be concerned with the future of the company because we are in an industry where gear is driven by innovation. If they are not innovating, their sales are going to fall off. As their sales fall off, eventually, how do they sustain a company? What does that mean long term if you are sitting with a lot of Buff equipment? So if you're looking at buying lighting today and moving forward, then you have to question whether or not that is actually a good choice. And believe me, I take no pleasure in pointing this out, but my loyalty is not to these companies that make gear. My loyalty is to you folks that I try to guide and mentor. So I'm not telling you don't buy Buff, let's be very clear, but I am telling you that you should really consider those aspects of, what's going on there with their company, because there's been nothing since the man has passed away. So, and we are going to try this again. YouTube is not playing nice tonight. I don't know what is up, guys. I sincerely apologize. But for some reason, I keep getting bounced out of the YouTube studio. And it's not turning off the stream, but it is also not letting me connect and transmit. So Hopefully, in a few seconds here, you guys should be seeing us again, and we should be good to go. Yep, you're back again. So I apologize, gang. I do not know what kind of issues YouTube is having tonight, but they're having some issues, that's for sure, okay? So anyway, let me just reset this again to make sure that I've got a monitor on what is happening with YouTube, so that if we do go, I know that I need to make some changes for you and get back to this, but I think we should be okay here at this point. Let's just see where we're at. One more change. Okay. All right. So next question on my list here. Okay. This one comes from Mike. A couple of weeks back, somebody asked if I could show how I have my flash travel case set up. You packed it at home during that show and said ask the next show. That was a couple of weeks ago. Last week it was here. This week it's at home because it's going to get on an airplane tomorrow morning. So I've already taken all my gear home. I'm sorry. I promise you, Mike, if you are here next Wednesday, I will have the case here. I will make sure that I show you the whole setup because yeah, I'm really happy with it. It's a Pelican Air case. Works just absolutely awesome. But yeah, unfortunately, it's already sitting at home with my luggage, ready to go out the door tomorrow morning. I have a 11-something flight. So, all right, next question on the list here comes from Terrence. Terrence wants to know, by the way, Terrence, it was nice meeting you in Cleveland at the Pixel Photo Fest. He's thinking of using LEDs for outdoor fall and winter portraits. Any experience with LED lighting in the elements? Snow, not rain. No, definitely not. The reason why I do not shoot nature and wildlife, probably number one on the list is snow. Winter, cold. Number two on the list would be the requirement to get up really, really early in the morning, right? So that just takes that off the table for me. I mean, there's plenty of LEDs out there that with a little bit of care. I don't think you're going to find anything that's necessarily weather sealed yet for LEDs, for photography LEDs. If you're looking for panels or that kind of stuff, not so sure you're going to find that yet, right? But there's definitely a lot of stuff that's out there that you could, I'm sure maybe with a little bit of effort, even put it in a plastic bag, and you would be, absolutely fine in that regard. I think the thing that you need to kind of be aware of and be considering though, Terrence, is you're not going to find LEDs that are soft light, right? In other words, a panel, or even if it's a spot LED that you could put in a softbox, you're not going to find an LED that's bright enough to really like match your outdoor lighting, or God forbid if you're trying to do the zombie thing and overpower, it's not going to overpower. So at most you're going to do, if you're shooting in the daytime, is you're going to use that LED for fill, right? You're not going to be able to actually create lighting. Now, if you want to shoot like at dusk or in the evening, that would work. In fact, there was a video that I did a little ways back. Let me switch my screen over here, and I'll show you guys a link. It's this one on the Savage LED light panels, which I love. These are called the Edgelit Pros. Those panels are awesome. You can run them on AC. You can run them on battery power. They work great. They're flat, so you get like a 12-inch diffused panel. Works really great. But if you're going to use it like when it's really bright outside, you'll have to get them pretty darn close to your subject. And so it really depends on what you're shooting. We are going to try this again, gang. Let's see how this goes. YouTube is not making life easy tonight, that's for sure. All right, so yep, I see a couple of you commenting. It froze again. Joe got bounced again. We're back. It is showing the stream as okay at this point. I honestly do not know what the issue is. But yeah, YouTube is not happy at all. All right. So, Terrence, again, just make sure you understand kind of how bright those LEDs are before you invest a lot of money. Depending on how you want to use them, they could present a little bit more of a challenge than what you're actually expecting. Okay. All right. So once again, let me. All right. Gord, that's good to hear. I just want to set up this little thing here so I can monitor what's coming out to you guys. That way I at least know when things go crazy. Otherwise, I'm like sitting here talking the entire time. So, all right, next question. I got a couple more here that came in early. I got one more that came in early, and then we can get to the chat window here. So from Frank, I'm still testing out the OMD EM1 Mark II. So Frank is an Olympus curious person. Am I using the 4:3 aspect ratio? Yes, I am. All my stuff I shoot that way, except of course for video, which is 16:9, right? Any suggestions on a speed light? The lack of an external battery plug is a deal breaker for the Olympus Flash. I use a Jackrabbit for corporate events, and I don't want to give it up. So first of all, without knowing exactly what you are doing with your corporate events and how much you're shooting, et cetera, Frank, it's kind of hard for me to really narrow that down. But I'll tell you this. The Olympus flashes are nice. I've never been, and I'm an Olympus ambassador, right? I've never been a huge fan of camera brand flashes. I don't care if it's Nikon, Canon, Olympus. I don't think Sony makes flashes, do they? Maybe they do. I don't know. But I just think they all tend to be a little bit feature light. And as photographers, we do tend to look for some expanded features. For a lot of years, I shot with external battery packs. Hated it then. Couldn't pay me to do it now. I would actually maybe encourage you to look at the Godox stuff, because you can, even with some of their speed lights, you can use lithium battery packs that, it's a super quick swap, okay? So that's a lot easier than a battery pack, right? So I guess what I would say to you is, and Frank, obviously I know your background in newspaper work. I have similar background, so believe me, I'm used to that whole mindset and the idea that with that battery pack, you can go through a whole event and never have to worry about your batteries, right? Just never have to worry. Lithium batteries have come a long way in the speedlights, especially the Godox stuff. Literally to swap a battery, it takes a fraction of seconds. I mean, 2 or 3 seconds to swap out a lithium battery. And they're small enough you can carry, the spares in your pocket. So yeah, I mean, if you're looking for speedlights, that's honestly, I would look at the Godox stuff and I would go with the lithium battery ones, and then, just carry a spare lithium battery too. I don't think it's a situation where you're gonna find yourself having to carry like 4 or 5 spare batteries. It's not gonna be like that at all. It's simply a matter of, you'll need maybe 1 or 2 spares depending on how long you're shooting. Okay, but that would be my recommendation. So yeah, at this point, fortunately, I don't have enough of a need that I would ever consider going the the external battery pack route, because it's just annoying. So I'm probably not ultimately the best one to weigh in, but I would encourage you to consider some of the lithium battery packs that are out there. I think you might find that will be a little bit easier. Okay, all right. So that was all of my questions that came in early. Let's go back now to the chat window. Peter had a question, and whoops, my chat window didn't come all the way back up here. So let me get those back on the screen. There it is. Peter Tran had a question, one of the first ones in here. Whoops, there we go. Peter Tran, my flash isn't very powerful, but I wanted to get the most out of it. Which kind of modifier would you suggest for directing light in a narrow arch over long distances? Peter, that's kind of not how it works. So I don't have a recommendation for you for that. So, directing light in a narrow arch, light doesn't arch. Light travels in a straight, like it's not like when you throw something, the gravity of the earth, makes it drop. It's not like that. Light travels in a straight line and it spreads. Now, for all the science nerds, before you start typing really fast, technically, light travels in waves, okay? It's very tight waves is how light travels. The net result of that wave is a straight line, okay? So for conversational purposes, we can accurately say, for conversational purposes, that light travels in a straight line. The inverse square law dictates that over its path, the course of its path, it spreads exponentially, okay? But it doesn't arch. That's not how it works. So you're not going to direct light in an arch unless you use several modifiers, reflectors, and yeah, that's not working. If you want to maximize the power of your flash with a modifier, the only kind of modifier that you're going to maximize with is going to be a silver, highly polished reflector. However, you didn't tell me, Peter, what kind of flash are we talking about? So if you're talking about a Fresnel head like that, you're not. All you could do is zoom it to its most powerful zoom setting, and that's as much power as you're going to get out of it, period. End of discussion. There's no modifier you're going to put on it that's going to make it more powerful, right? Just won't. If you're using a bare bulb, which is this type of a head, like this, then you could use a highly polished silver reflector. It's what they call a long throw. And that would help you get a little bit more distance and oomph, but it doesn't actually make it more powerful, right? The flash is as powerful as it is. Done, okay? So that's the challenge that you're dealing with there. So really, the solution to what you're discussing, the solution is you just need to get a more powerful flash. Unfortunately, that's the solution, okay? All right, next up here, scrolling down. Where are we at here? Sorry, let me get past the point here where there's all the points. People saying, hey, it dropped. Steve Wilking, yes, we are doing TogChat on a Monday. We're doing TogChat on a Monday because I will be in North Carolina on Wednesday. And you think I'm having trouble with YouTube tonight? Trust me, doing that from a hotel room, never really a good plan. So yeah, so I'll be taking this Wednesday night off, and we'll go from there. So Roy and Descartes, sub to your channel. I love your work and how you teach. Well, thank you. It's nice to see you here today too. I do appreciate that support. And by the way, gang, I'm not a big fan of when people tease things, but I'm going to tease things. Stay tuned. End of October, right after Photo Plus, some big changes, good changes, changes that you will be very excited about are coming to my channel and my platform as far as how I teach, all that good stuff. So I've been kind of working hard behind the scenes to be able to implement some of this stuff. It's finally coming together the way that I had hoped it would. And I think I've also got a much clearer picture of how I can really, really best help you guys with what you want. So it's coming. Stay tuned. It's going to be fun. For Carl, I'd like to know what you recommend to put in a humidity box, and do you put your flash units in it? Yeah, anything with glass. In other words, all of your lenses. So, by the way, humidity boxes, gang, if you don't know what that is, humidity can really do damage to your camera gear. It can do damage to your lenses by allowing fungus to grow on your lenses. It can do damage to your camera sensors also. Let's see here. Let me see if I can find you Let me see if I can find you one here and so you can see what they are. Yeah, so let's switch the screen over and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So these are humidity cabinets for cameras. This is just on Amazon. I just pulled these up, okay? So here, I'll go ahead and I'll get you guys a link. Yes, this is an affiliate link, okay? So, I mean, if you click on this link and you wind up buying one of these or something else, you can support my channel just a tad, okay? But basically, they allow you to control temperature and also to control the humidity levels so that your cameras, there's no chance of them picking up any fungus, anything like that. My previous studio, as you know, was in the basement of my home. It was in a concrete walled basement, so it was high on humidity, and I also ran a dehumidifier in addition to using the cabinet. And in this studio, I'm kind of the opposite direction now. This is an old cigar factory with, it's very thick, but brick walls and windows. So over the summer, the only air conditioning that's in this room is a portable air conditioner that I have on the floor. And in the winter, when the heat kicks in, there are heat pipes that run up above me, but directly under me is a loading dock. So I expect that this facility here, I will be dealing with humidity year round. So I do have a humidity cabinet here, which also allows me to lock my gear up. You know, it's nice. So the only gear, Carl, that doesn't stay locked up is the gear that's in my camera bag and goes everywhere with me because it's always with me. But other than that, I would recommend putting your flashes in it, putting your cameras in it, putting your lenses in it. I store my spare batteries in it. Not that you need to do that, but yeah, pretty much. And the one that I have, in case any of you are wondering, this is the one that I have right here, the 4Spark. It's $429. So that's the version that I have. So it's got the 1, 2, 3. It's the 4-shelf one. Okay, and it holds quite a bit of gear. Okay, so you may not need something that's quite that large. Okay, all right. Next up here, so I answered that for Carl. Manny Class, monitor calibration. Do I really need to buy that expensive spider calibration device? Well, you don't necessarily have to buy an expensive one, but should you calibrate your monitors? Oh, absolutely, man. Yeah, I mean, if you're serious about your work, and if you are serious about your work being consistent, in other words, being able to put out consistent color quality and having as much control as possible, and especially if you're going to do printing, absolutely, calibrate your monitors. Very, very important, yeah. You know, nobody ever said this photography stuff is cheap, right? So I don't mean to say that like, hey, suck it up, find the money. But, you know, as you're building out your system, you're not always, as a photographer, you're not always going to be prioritizing camera gear, right? Sometimes you have to prioritize computer accessories. Sometimes you have to prioritize calibration tools, things like that, because all of those things ultimately have an impact on the quality of your photography and your final output. So I would definitely do that, okay? Also from Manny, what are my thoughts on the new ProPhoto C1 phone flash? So you really just want to get me in trouble, Manny, right? So, look, I'm not going to lie. Like, I don't get it. I just don't get it, right? I mean, and I don't think they're going to sell many. Like, first of all, we're dumb enough to spend $1,000 for a frickin' phone. And we'll go spend a new $1,000 because we'll find a frickin' phone that's got better camera in it. And then we're going to buy some round flash thingy that is like 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, I don't know, but it's thick. Thicker than the phone. I mean, what are we going to carry that in? Like, I'm sorry, but I don't imagine many guys shoving that thing in their pocket. And isn't the whole idea of using your phone that you take pictures with it when it's convenient because you don't have a camera with you? So, you know, look, the technology that we have in our phones, I don't care what brand you use. So again, it's no different than cameras. You guys always hear me say there's no such thing as a bad camera. There's only bad photographers. That's very true. There's really no bad phones at this point when it comes to cameras. So let's be clear. You know, do some have some features that others? Yada, yada. Of course they do. But once again, if you know what you're doing with it, you can take decent pictures with any of them. So that being said, right, I don't see people wanting to carry one of them suckers around. And I hate to be sexist, maybe a woman that carries a purse is willing to throw that thing in her purse, but I don't get the point. I really don't. And I haven't even seen the price. I can only imagine how much that thing costs, right? So yeah, I don't see it. I mean, to me, as much as phones have come a long way and they take amazing photographs, we're still at a point that if I need lighting and I need to go to that extent, then I want to use my real cameras because I'm going to get better quality, period. And then it means that it's something that's worth me carrying lighting gear out or taking a case out or whatever it is I need. So yeah, but anyway. Jack Spade, I still shoot with the Pulsey Buff coffee can strobes. The originals, man, were they not awesome? They were, okay? Limited in features, but still produce quality images that serves its purpose. They do. I mean, that's what turned me on to Buff in the first place back in the mid-'80s when he first came out. And they literally were like coffee cans because if you dinged them or dropped them, they were no longer round. But they worked, and they worked, and they worked. They were absolutely awesome to work with. So I do kind of miss those. All right, scrolling on down here. Build Signal, I love my Honey Badgers. Yeah, Honey Badgers are great strobes. Again, all of them are good. Please understand, gang, I'm not trying to cause anybody panic with, Interfit or Pulsey Buff. But, I'm just saying, if we're going to talk gear here a little bit, let's just kind of look at the big picture. I'm sorry, but the big picture for Buff, it isn't exactly very promising. I mean, and they're certainly not doing anything in 2 years to show us that there is much of a future, right? So, yeah, I mean, if you only need studio strobes, right? If you only need studio strobes and you're not going out on location, and if you are okay with power cords or external battery packs, then the Buff strobes are awesome. But the fact of the matter is, I mean, you can buy the Godex system for not a whole lot more money, right? So it's kind of like, I don't know. I just don't know where the future is there, okay? Build Signal, you just bought an Octabox from Interfit, and it's good quality. Yeah, they are. They call that, all their accessories, they call Studio Essentials. That's the brand name that goes with those. Yeah, I use a bunch of that stuff. Even when I travel, I use the Studio Essentials reflectors and that kind of stuff. But Jack Spade, see, guys never talk bad about Pulsey Buff because they'll find you and make your day. Yeah, trust me, that's how it felt when I came out with that Honey Badger video. Let me just tell you. I got attacked on like every level imaginable. Twitter, YouTube, you name it. I got slammed. But hey, it is what it is, right? So let's see here. Photomix Media, question. Could I white balance, color correct mixed lighting in a venue with my speed lights or strobe lights? Are you asking me how could you, Photomix Media? Did I miss something else? Did you post anything else after this? Photomix, I'm not sure. Can you maybe type that out a little bit more? Give me a little bit more detail about what you're trying to do, because I'll be honest, I'm not exactly sure what you're asking me there, okay? All right, scrolling on down here. Noel, the new Honey Badger on lease looks nice. Yes, I have not used one, but I know quite a few people that have. They're very happy with it. And again, if you like the Honey Badgers especially, or you like the Buff type units, the Unleashed gives you the benefit of the lithium battery, which is great. So, okay. Let's see here. Lehigh Valley Railroad guy, or if your daughter's there, lover guy. Almost 1,000 images last Thursday, indoor and outdoor fill flash. It's tough being a dinosaur. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I will tell you this, 1,000 images on like a Godox, if they were full power, that's 2 battery charges. If you weren't shooting full power, you'd probably got the 1,000 images on 1 battery. Like literally, I'm not exaggerating. On the 8200s, which are not speed lights, right? But the 8200s, I charge those suckers like once a month. The ones that I travel with, and they go out, I go out, I teach, they get used heavy when I'm out teaching. I charge them like once a month. So again, just, something to kind of consider, right? All right. So, okay, Peter came back here with the question about the strobes. He meant throwing light maximum distance. Honestly, Peter, the real solution, it's not a modifier. It's a more powerful flash, unfortunately. That's really the key, okay? Alan, you're actually doing TogChat on Tuesday in Thailand. Yeah, I guess it's Tuesday down in Australia, too. We got some people here from that. So, yeah, so happy Tuesday. Let's see. Vasily mentions Yanguino. Yeah, I mean, I'll admit, guys, so, and I don't want to start a debate, right? So I'm not knocking anybody, please, but I'm just going to be really honest. And I'm going to talk out of both sides of my mouth, so follow along, right? But I just like to put this out here. I'm not a big fan of Yanguino. Big reason that I'm not a big fan of Yanguino is that essentially they just knocked off Canon and stole a lot of technology, right? Now, before you'll start, I know Godox did some of that. Yeah, and it would appear like with the V1, they've done that to ProPhoto. I don't agree with that. The reason why I give them a pass, so I get it, right? This is kind of self-serving, but I'm owning it, okay? I give them a pass because the one thing Godox has done is they may have started with some borrowed technology or stolen technology, and they may unfortunately still be doing some of that, but Godox has built out a system that really understands photographers, that really simplifies life for photographers. And they've done it with excellent quality at an extremely reasonable price. So for that reason, I kind of have to give them a pass. So I'm not saying you're bad for using Yanguino. I'm just saying that's actually why I generally don't talk about them. And I will also say, and they've probably improved this, I had tried some Yanguino flashes back in the day. Actually, the brief time period that I spent trying Sony cameras, I had bought 2 Yanguino speed lights, and I just absolutely hated the menu system on them. Like, I could never get comfortable with the way the menus were. Maybe that's improved. So again, you know, in all fairness. So, yeah, such a thing. So Steve Wilking, does it involve Tog Knowledge specifically, or does TogChat? No, actually, it involves me as an educator, and YouTube, and TogChat, and Tog Knowledge. So yeah, so it's just kind of a shall we say, a retooling of things, Steve, but in a very positive way, with a slightly renewed focus on some things. Okay. Brett Day, it's a breath of fresh air to see somebody using a micro Four Thirds camera. I'm making the switch to Olympus, yay! And the EM1 Mark II after using DSLRs for close to 20 years. Looking forward to more of your videos. Awesome, Brett. Welcome to the family. If you have any questions, in fact, here, I'll give you a little tip, Brett, just in case you haven't done this yet. I'm going to share with you a link to a Facebook group. This is not my Facebook group, but this is a Facebook group that as you are, and I'm going to put this in the chat window here, as you are moving into the Olympus system, if you have questions about any of the gear, how to do stuff, etc., this is a group where you're not allowed to share photos unless you're having a problem and the photo helps illustrate the problem. It's strictly a knowledge sharing group about Olympus cameras. It is well administered. Really, really good put together group. People actually behave in the group. There's rarely an issue. When I was considering the change to Olympus over 2 years ago now, I joined this group pretty early on. I stumbled on it by luck, and I was able to actually get some really, really good information to some of my early questions before I pulled the trigger and made my purchase. So very, very helpful. I still follow the group and try to participate whenever I can at this point. So it's actually nice to have a photography group that's not about the pictures. In other words, it's just about the tech. And it's not about chest pounding, you know, my camera's better, bigger sensor's better, this lens is better. It's problem solving tech. Like, hey, I'm having a hard time getting the camera to do this. How do I make a camera do this? What's going to be best for this, etc. And so it's actually people, you know, problem solving from their experience. There's none of the chest pounding stuff, which is really great. So highly, highly recommend that group. Check it out, okay? So let's see, Tim Satterfield, some ideas about getting more buns in the studio, starting over after illness. So Tim, I have a feeling what you mean by buns is like more women. So the first, and I'm actually, I'm not even going to say it. How about if you let me know? Is that what you mean, like getting more models into your studio? Let me know if that's what you mean, and then I can give you some suggestions. Okay. I don't want to assume that I know what that means. So okay. Let's see. Jason Page, move to Colorado. We don't have humidity. I think it would cost me a lot more than the $400 for the humidity cabinet to move to Colorado. But indeed, Colorado is really nice. See, problem for me, like I said earlier, Colorado has snow. I'm not a snow guy. Like I like it warm. So yeah, I mean, Steve Wolking, do I use humidity packets in my bags? Only if I'm going to be in a really humid location for a prolonged period of time. I'll throw some reusable ones in, but I probably could use them more. I mean, I want to be clear. Like I don't want to panic any of you into going out and spending $500. So please, like, maybe we should take a step back from this humidity cabinet thing. Carl posted his question. Carl's a member of my Tog Knowledge group, okay? He posted his question because we've been kind of having an ongoing conversation about these. He's expressed an interest in them. So we've been sharing some information back and forth. Cameras today, lenses today, are built really, really well, and they are built to manage average humidity situations. And when I say average, I mean like Pennsylvania is a great example. In the summertime, Pennsylvania, we get heat, but we get lots of humidity. You know, in the wintertime, not so much, right? So if my camera equipment was going to sit like in the living room of my house all year, as an example, I would have no problem and no concerns about humidity, because I do run an air conditioner in the summertime, but you know, I'm not running it where it's like crazy cold or anything like that. So it would be fine, and I would not be that concerned. But as I mentioned, what led me to getting, and this is based on past bad experiences. I have had situations back in my Nikon days, years ago. The studio that I had before I built my home studio was a 2,000 square foot studio. And what I didn't realize when I first started using the studio is that the floor of the studio was actually, it was wood, right? But it was actually built over stone. I didn't know that. Had no reason to know that. It never actually got that terribly cold in the winter. But what I learned the hard way is, as a result, the building had a lot of humidity. And indeed, I had some lenses that I didn't use very often that I basically left there in the studio. They stayed there the whole time. And after about 2 years in that studio, they noticeably had fungus growing on the inside of them. And you know, did some research and realized that's what it was. So that's what kind of woke me up to what humidity can do. This was probably 15 years ago. It was some older Nikon lenses, right? So I'm not dumping on Nikon, I'm just saying they were older lenses. The technology used, the glass used, the coatings used today are much better, even with sensors and that kind of stuff, much better. So I don't want to panic any of you into saying, oh my God, I have to have a dry cabinet. No, but do pay attention to the surroundings that you store your gear in. In other words, places where your gear is spending a lot of time, right? If it's spending a lot of time in really humid environments, then you will prolong the life of your gear by using a dry cabinet. You just will, right? But please, I don't want anybody to think, oh my God, like Joe said, I gotta have a dry cabinet, run out and buy one. No. And again, at the same time, do your research on the sizes. Most of you don't need one as big as the one that I have, right? So just, you know, well, unless you like shoot Nikon or Canon, and then you probably need a bigger one. I know I said that. I just had to, right? But seriously, just be, you know, honest with yourself about what the environment is that you're working in, okay? So let's see here. Sliding on down here. Steve, what should the humidity level be to store your gear properly? You know, I don't remember the exact numbers. I want to say it's like 50% or below. I have mine set right now. My cabinet right at the moment is 80 degrees inside. It's 80 degrees and 41% humidity. Yeah, and I want to say it's usually running between like 40, about 43 to 40 is usually kind of where it'll bounce back and forth. And the temperature is usually somewhere in like the 77s to 80, maybe 81, okay? So yeah, Carl just mentioned that his basement where he stores his camera is very humid all summer, so then yes. You have two options, Carl. Either get yourself a dry cabinet or get a dehumidifier for your basement, right? Because the problem is you'll probably spend about the same amount of money for both, so it's entirely up to you. Yeah, so Joe Max says 35 to 45%, and that may be correct. A quick Google search will tell you. I apologize. I'm not going to lie. The way YouTube's been going on tonight, I'm afraid to go start browsing on anything here because I have no idea why it kept dropping out. It seems to be okay now, but I figure that's when I'll mess it up. All right. Oh, Russ Dixon following up on that C1 from Pro Photos, $499. So $500 for a light for an iPhone. Yeah, no. Sorry, not happening. Randy Gerard, do I have any YouTube videos on boudoir photography? I do not. I'd probably have a lot more views on my YouTube channel if I did that, but I don't. I am not, so let me say this so I don't upset anybody. I'm not a big fan of boudoir because unfortunately so much boudoir is just really, really poorly done that it's cheesy, right? Either that or I was just never adventurous enough and never lived that life, so it just seems really fake and not real to me. So like honestly, I think probably my favorite, and I talk about these routinely, probably my favorite set of, if we want to call them boudoir pictures of all time, you can Google them. They're called The Last Sitting. They are the last photos that were taken of Marilyn Monroe before she died. They were done by an amazing photographer named Bert Stern. And there's an incredible story behind them, which I would also encourage you to look into. So, you know, for me, they're kind of my standard as far as boudoir goes, which is very different than the traditional boudoir stuff. So sorry, Randy, no, I don't have any boudoir photos. So, and let's see, Mike Pierce says, back a ways, he asked a question. All right, let's see if I can find your question here, Mike. Let's see here. I'm looking, Mike. I'm not seeing though. You just may have to retype it here, Mike. Give me just a sec, but I think I'm almost up at the top. Oh, there it is. Oh, Mike Pierce, there we go. How do you find buyers for your work? So Mike, I gotta ask you a question. What kind of work are we talking about? Like, what are you selling? Give me some of that, and then I can tell you how you might do that, okay? All right, scrolling back down here. All right, so there's that. Bill, where do you get the inspiration or ideas for your next photo? Drugs? No, of course not. So, don't do drugs, never done drugs, swear, no. Yeah, it's a discipline, Bill, for me. So let me break this down so it kind of makes sense, because the honest answer is actually just going to frustrate people and not help people. Creative ideas come easier to some people than others. That's part one of the answer. Some background. Part two, for some people, creative ideas are much better and more creative than other people. So creative ideas come fairly easy to me, but I am not on the high list of how creative. I'm really on the lower side. And I'll give you a good comparison. You know, people often, and believe me, I am extremely flattered, but people often say, oh, you do the same kind of stuff that Lindsay Adler does. Oh God, I wish I did the same kind of stuff that Lindsay Adler does. Come on, let's be real, right? So, you know, there you have a really, really good example. No matter how hard I try, I'm never going to be as good as what Lindsay Adler does. And there's a whole bunch of science behind that. So I'm not being modest. I'm not putting myself down. I'm being straight. Like, just deal with it, gang, because not everybody can be super creative. But everybody can develop habits that make sure you are maximizing your creativity. And so part of that, Bill, is honestly, it's keeping my eyes open. It's always keep my eyes open, looking for things that influence me, things that excite me, things that challenge me. So I'll give you a really good example, because I have a bunch of this stuff sitting here, and I'm not gonna, well, hell, I'll show you. So, you guys know that when I became an Olympus shooter, right, I found this feature in the Olympus cameras called Live Composite. And everything I found about Live Composite, it talked about astrophotography. It talked about shooting, the star trails. It talked about doing the car trails and the cityscapes, all that kind of stuff. They showed lots of light painting and those kinds of things, but there's nothing with portraits. I was like, damn it, I'm a portrait photographer. What can I do with this? Because it's kind of cool. And then it hit me. It's like, hey, why don't I make a background in real time? And then I started doing that, and I realized, okay, so now I made a background. I could actually do the same thing, and I could create depth. I could create layers to my shot by having light in front of my subject, having light behind my subject. So it was that challenge. Last weekend, I was out in Cleveland. You guys know that I spoke at Pixel Photo Fest. There was an organization there, or company that was represented there, that is called Light Painting Brushes. Not the most creative name in the world, but it's what they are, right? So they have all kinds of gadgets that attach to a flashlight. So this is like a purple gel that attaches onto the end of a tactical flashlight. This is a fiber optic wand that attaches onto the end of a flashlight with white light. I saw this stuff because they had a guy there who was doing light painting. And his stuff is really cool, but not portraits. So when I saw some of the things they have, I was like, these gadgets are neat. I need to figure out a way to be able to make portrait backgrounds out of these. So I mentioned earlier that for Photo Plus this year, I'm probably going to be doing a lot of light painting. So when I get back from Cleveland on Thursday, I will have a little less than a month before I take the stage for Olympus at Photo Plus. I will be spending quite a bit of that month that's coming up playing and practicing and experimenting and purposely failing to find new and interesting things, because the guys that are already doing the light painting with these tools, they're doing really, really cool stuff. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go out and I'm going to copy what they're doing? That's no fun, right? I mean, it's fun to the extent of, well, let me prove to myself that I can do it, but that's not creative, which is what you asked. For me, the creative is like, okay, let me learn how these tools are going to work best, because there's a lot of nuance to the way you move them, all kinds of neat little things like that. And then let me figure out how can I make really, really interesting portrait backgrounds, which is a whole different level than what these other photographers are doing. So again, it's a matter of trying to do it very different. And for me, honestly, the best way to find these ideas is to fail. I mean, you guys hear me talk about it all the time. My keynote at Pixel Photo Fest was, don't be afraid to suck. Pushing yourself to fail and to do things that are not intuitive and not, not kind of the norm and the standard. That's where the good ideas come from, right? But I'm always looking, Bill. It might be a piece of material. It might be a picture that I see where I like the color scheme, and there's something about the pose that I like, and then I'll look to see how I can adapt that to make it my own. But I have this hard, fast kind of mentality that I don't want to do it exactly like everybody else does it. That's the key. It's always got to be like, how can I give it something different, right? So that's kind of where I challenge myself with it. Okay. Pam, did you get your new 3i iPhone? No, I don't. Do I think the cameras in the future will have 3 attached lenses too? No, I don't. Now, I won't be purchasing this iPhone. So I was one of those people, let's be really clear. I was one of those people that always, upgraded on the phone like right away as soon as you could. I haven't done that for years. I kind of gave up on all that. So according to everything I have been reading, this phone this year from Apple is not a big deal. Next year, allegedly, Apple is going to really kind of up the game on the phones and change them a lot. So, maybe that one. But for me, given that I'm a camera brand ambassador, not a lot of value for me to buy a new phone to get the camera. Right. So, but the whole 3 lens thing, no, I don't think that'll happen. I could see that happening for like a compact camera, you know, kind of a carry-around camera. Like, you know, I talk about my Olympus TG6, which I love. I could see it happening for that kind of a camera, but not a high-end camera. No, I don't see that happening at all. So somebody asked here about the URL for that. Oh, Robert Julian, you asked about a link to the flashlight attachment stuff. I put it in the chat window. It's lightpaintingbrushes.com. That's a company you want to check out, okay? And then another guy that's worth looking at who does similar type of photography, but with different tools, and he does sell his tools also. His name is Eric Paré, and just Google his name, and you'll find his stuff also. So these are kind of two competing companies. For me, I really like the stuff that Light Painting Brushes has. I think that they've taken it to a whole new level. So matter of preference, but yeah, I'm going to be completely honest with you. There's stuff out there that's both. And full disclosure, Light Painting Brushes, the stuff that you just saw me take out of the box, they sent me that at no cost. However, before they sent me that, I spent over $200 on their gadgets and pieces and that of my own. So, and then reached out to them and they were willing to send me some other pieces. So I don't want you to think that like, yeah, I got it all free and that's why I'm telling you about it. No, I actually purchased their stuff first. I love it. I love what they're doing. I love the variety that it creates. And I reached out to them and they were willing to send me a little bit, especially in the hopes that I do take it on stage at Photo Plus and show it off at Photo Plus, which would be great for them. But I have also met Eric Paré. I've seen him do his thing. Love what he does. Amazingly talented. And he does have a set of tools that he sells and promotes. I just think that the Light Painting Brushes one's more variety, a little bit more that you can do with it. And again, like I said, no disrespect to any of the light painting photographers that are out there, because the stuff that some of these guys are doing, it's insane. Like, it's just really cool. I want to go in a completely different direction with it because I want to use it for portraits, right? So, so that's, what my goal is, okay? All right, let's see here, sliding on down. Shanzi Wills, any tips for going from the indoors to the humid outdoors and keeping the camera lenses from fogging up? Yeah, actually a really easy tip. So if it's like summertime and yeah, like you're in an air-conditioned space and then you're gonna go outside, Ziploc bags, big Ziploc bags. Or if you're gonna do it with a whole camera bag, a trash bag. Put it in the trash bag and carry it outside. Leave it in the trash bag for 10 minutes and then take the trash bag off. That way you won't fog up anything, okay? Because by putting it in a Ziploc bag, like if it's just a camera, put it in a Ziploc bag and carry it out, you're taking the warm air, or excuse me, you're taking the cold air from the house outside with you, but it will warm up really quick because it's in a clear bag, but it warms up slow enough that you don't get the fogging, right? So yeah, if you have a situation where you're in a really cool air-conditioned environment, you're going outside where it's humid, you don't want the fog because you want to be able to use the camera rather quickly, put it in a bag, take it outside, let that bag warm up, and even if you have to rush it, let the warm air into it slowly, okay? Just a little bit of a time, and that way you'll be able to get the camera warmed up. So it's all about getting the camera warmed up. That's what, the fact that the camera's cold, that's what causes the fog, right? So, but yeah, plastic bags, Ziploc bags, works wonders, okay? Let's see, Vasily, good idea to use Tupperware containers for each device. Yeah, I mean, you could do that. Tupperware is another way that you could store stuff. I mean, again, so many different ways that you could work with that. And even from taking the stuff from inside to outside, sticking it in Tupperware containers, if you have enough big Tupperware containers, you could do that with it also. Okay, we are back again. Let's try this again, shall we? Here I thought I was going to get lucky there with YouTube, but no, it just bounced us again, right? All right, so one more time here. Let me go ahead and turn these little monitors on here so that I know that we have got a stream. Yep, we're back, Gord. Okay, so turn that one off, got that off, and all right. So the Dan Palin, you believe that the 3-lens feature can help tremendously on social media? I'm curious, Dan, how is the 3-lens feature going to help tremendously in social media? So I'm not going to lie, and let me apologize in advance. Maybe I shouldn't have laughed right away. I have to be honest, so that just sounds a little odd to me, but tell me, like, let's have a conversation. I'm curious to know what your thought process is, okay? Maybe there's something that I'm overlooking in terms of, possibilities, okay? So let's see. Photomix Media also pointed out it's the opposite when the outside is winter and you bring the gears indoor. Yes, put the stuff in bags and let it warm up. So yes, that will totally work. Okay. All right. So Chi Ho Lim, may I know how you deal with the normally higher noise situation with Micro Four Thirds when shooting at ISO 6400 and above? Well, first of all, I don't shoot at 6400 and above. Why do you need to shoot at 6400 and above? The way I learn photography, gang, and Chi Ho Lim, I'm not familiar with your username, so I don't know how often you've been here, but I'm just going to be honest. These questions drive me nuts. But here's why, right? So let me please explain. The word photography comes from the Latin, light. Right? You need light. In all of my career, doing newspaper work, doing weddings, doing portraits, doing sports teams. I mean, in my life, I have shot pretty much everything there is to shoot professionally. I've never needed 6400 ISO, ever. Like, I just don't understand why people are so hung up on this ISO thing. I just don't. Makes no sense to me. I don't shoot at 3200 ISO. I don't have a need. So give me a little bit more reasoning as to why you need 6400 ISO, okay? And then I can maybe try and help you. But I deal with it by the fact that I use light for my photography. I don't try to shoot in the dark. So, okay. Mike Pierce. Mike, you're still not helping me, man. It's your work, Joe. How do you find buyers for your particular niche? What is my niche, man? You know what my buyers are? My buyers are you guys. You watch my videos. You pay me to come teach. I'm a teacher, man. I'm an educator. I was a photographer, but I never had buyers. I don't make art. I don't sell art. So you're missing the point, Mike. What do you want people to hire you to do? What do you want them to pay you for? Do you want them to pay you for a print and a frame? Do you want them to pay you for shooting a portrait, for shooting a wedding? Like, you're asking this incredibly generic question that I've only got 20 minutes left, man. Like, tell me what you want to sell specifically. What do you want to get paid for? And then I can help you. I can totally give you information then, man. But yeah, like, I'm a photo educator. I get paid to teach. Right? That's the luxury. I've been shooting for 43 plus years, man. I'm tired of dealing with clients. That's the luxury that I have for what I do, but I've worked damn hard to get here. I get paid by people that want to learn from my experience. That's why I'm going to North Carolina tomorrow. So tell me what it is that you are trying to get paid to do, and then I can actually help you out. But that's a really generic statement, okay? Because the whole niche thing and that, it's a bunch of buzzwords. But tell me what you want. And seriously, I want to help you out, but you gotta give me some meat, okay? What do you do? Don't worry about what I do. What do you do? What do you want to get paid for? Let me help you solve that problem, and that I can do, okay? So Dan, we're back to the 3-lens iPhone thing. It's an added feature for creativity. More importantly, an added feature that's in your pocket on a very powerful computer. Okay, so I see where you're coming at, Dan. Yeah, but here's the thing: you got to understand. You're talking to a photographer, right? Professional photographer who prefers to use mirrorless cameras with more megapixels than the iPhones and with lenses that have more capabilities. So that being said, is it a game changer for a phone camera? So let's narrow your statement down. Yeah. Oh hell yeah. The idea of having wide angle, normal, and telephoto lens. Absolutely. I don't think it's a game changer for social media though, right? So let's just be fair. I'm just going based on the words that you said, okay? Does it make it easier for some people to be creative, to post their pictures on social media faster? Absolutely. I'm with you a bazillion %. I completely agree, right? But the idea that it is a game changer for social media, no, that's not a game changer for social media. So But sure, I mean, all of what you just said in that last statement is actually, I would agree, is very factually correct. It is a very powerful computer. It's a very powerful computer in your pocket. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely like, big bonus. Now, to be fair, part of the reason why it's not a game changer for social media, just like any other piece of technology, and specifically any other camera, it's only as good as the person using it, right? So it's kind of like the statement I make about cameras. So again, leave phones out of it for just a second. There are no bad cameras. There's only bad photographers, right? So it's the same thing, right? So that feature there isn't a game changer. It's potentially a game changer for a lot of people and the way they do their social media, yes, but not a game changer for social media. So, Randy 12 Gerard, what's happening in North Carolina? I am going to be presenting on Wednesday of this week at Biggs Camera in North Carolina here. I'll bring it up and then I'll share the link. There's still some spots left for the morning. This is the event. The afternoon photo walk is sold out. So so the afternoon event's sold out. The morning class that I'll be doing for fashion portraiture stuff, there's still some spots open for that. Yeah, if you're in North Carolina, I would love to see you at the event. Come on out, okay? So, Dan, you're welcome for the discussion, man. I always love discussions. That's the point, right? It's like, because there's a lot of different sides to it. I just don't like it when people are like, that's it, right? But no, I totally, I totally agree with your sentiments about, hey, this opens up like all kind of creative possibilities. Heck yeah. I mean, I think that's cool. So, Mike, so come on, give me some more details, man. Seriously, I'm not kidding. I want to help you out. Tell me a little bit more about what kind of work you want to get paid to do. Because I still got like 14 minutes, so we can do that if YouTube doesn't bounce us out again here, okay? Let's see here. Alexander, times are changing. What was good 30 years ago might be mediocre now. It's kind of a race, sharper, less noisy, etc. I'm not discussing if it's right, but what it is. That's why such chase for the ISO. Well, I don't completely disagree with you, Alexander. I mean, I think on a lot of levels, you're completely right. And obviously, if you follow me, I kind of take the approach, though. I would love for people to understand why they're making the choices that they do, because so many of the choices, or excuse me, so many of the people that ask the questions about the high ISO, the problem is they're doing it and they're thinking they need it because they watch some damn YouTube video, right? So my goal is to better educate people so that they understand, there are more than one way to solve a problem. It's just like the fact that most of the people that are watching this show right now do not actually understand how to implement as a tool the inverse square law. They do not understand how to implement as a tool all 4 of the controls that are provided to you with depth of field. Not 3, 4. Most people do not understand those. That's problematic. And so what they do is they go out and they spend a whole bunch of money to compensate for their lack of understanding. That's unfortunate. So you're right about it being a race, but unfortunately it's a race that is based in ignorance, and it's a race that is based in lack of information and lack of education. So my hope is to make people actually do some learning, because if they do some learning, they build a foundation. If they build a foundation, they realize they don't need to spend near as much money on gear as they thought they did. They will realize that their gear will last them much longer than they thought it would. They'll realize that that new gadget, while it's cool, the real decision is that gadget going to make my life better or not? If it's not going to make my life better, then why pay the money for it? Because it's a new gadget. Those are the kinds of things that I'm talking about here, okay? All right. So let's see. Alexander goes on to say, if you're not so good at making interesting pics, you can still have them better in a technical way and advertise that. Yeah, you know what though, Alexander? Ultimately not. And here's why, right? I agree that they're better in a technical way. So I agree with you there, right? We have such amazing technology that the technology can make your images technically better. to some extent, right? Not completely. But here's the thing. Unfortunately, Alexander, overwhelmingly, those same people that rely on that technology that way, in other words, rely on that technology so that they can remain ignorant and uneducated, those same people generally produce visually dull and boring images. And those same people are not going to be able to produce consistently high quality images. Because the fact of the matter is, the technology that we have is not perfect. The technology that we have is not human. So it cannot see things and understand what's in front of it the way that our eyes and our brains can. So you make good points, but still not an acceptable answer. If we settle for that, and again, understand as an educator, I'm not helping anybody if I settle for that and just say, well, yeah, that's not helping anybody, right? Sometimes people need a kick in the butt to realize, look, that's taking the easy way out. I will be re-recording, so I shouldn't say re-recording, recording the keynote that I did in Cleveland for you folks. There was no way for me to record it properly. So I am going to record a studio version of it because I want to be able to share it. I talk a lot about this topic, Alexander, in the keynote. And I talk about some science behind it because the fact of the matter is, as humans, we are hardwired to be lazy. We seek the path of least resistance in every single thing that we do. So, there are actually a lot of things in our DNA, in our makeup as human beings that actually cause us to settle for things like that. The idea, well, the technology can do better, so I don't have to learn all this stuff. Why put in all that work? I have the money, so I'll just buy better technology, and that'll get me better pictures. But it doesn't actually get you better pictures because so much of what good photographs rely upon is creativity. And that laziness that I was talking about that we're hardwired for, because we are, that's a fact, proven science. That laziness also gets in the way of creativity, which means that those same people, yeah, they might come up with something interesting every now and then, but they're not going to be able to generate consistently good work, and they're not generating the best work, okay? They're simply not. So, all right, so here, Alexander's back again. So now, sir, now photographers learning way faster as a matter of months, not years. It's not enough to get some real experience, so technology is expected to fill the gap lazy way. So I think you're agreeing with me, I think. Tell me if you are, because I completely disagree with your first statement. Photographers aren't learning faster. No, they're not. No. In fact, they're learning slower because of things like YouTube, because of the idiots that just entertain on YouTube, and because people watch entertainment and say that it's education, okay? Okay, that's what I thought. So yeah, Alexander said, so we do agree, good. And I'm sure there's probably a little bit of language difference here. That's why I wanted to make sure. Yeah, I mean, certainly, so I would disagree about the photographers learning faster, Alexander, but I do think that, yes, you can pick up a really good camera and you can take a better picture much quicker, but that's not learning, right? So again, just there's a difference, okay? The cameras will get you to a point where you're able to put out a better image, but that's not actually learning. So people I would argue, are learning slower than what we used to, because back in the day, in the dark ages, right? If we wanted to learn photography, it was pretty obvious from the get-go, you were going to have to do a lot of learning. Like, there was no shortcut. So when you made that commitment, you made that commitment. So it's definitely a lot different, okay? Jason Page, I actually talk about this a lot, Jason. He says, if you Google the 100 most influential photos of all time, very few of them are technically well made. Yes, another phrase that you can type in, Jason, same idea, is iconic photographs or iconic images. Same exact situation. I completely agree with you. It is a fact. And the reason, if we take your statement a step further, Jason, the reason is the fact that they are iconic has nothing to do with the technical aspects of the photography. The fact that they are iconic has to do with one word: emotion. They all represent an emotional moment that people connect with, that has meaning to people. That's exactly what you hear me try to impress on you guys all the time. Forget this damn technology. You need to learn the technology, but that is not the most important part of your photography. It's just not. Unless there's only one category of photographers that gets a pass from that statement. There are photographers who, like car owners, find joy in the toys. There are car owners that are, all about what's under the hood, right? That's their thing. They don't care about the looks. That's important, but it's about what's under the hood. For me, I'm the kind of guy I need the car to start when I push the button or turn the key. That's it. I'm one of those kind, right? I'm kind of the same with cameras. Once I pick my camera, I just need it to work. Everything else I'm doing is about psychology and the visual creativity. That's everything where my effort and my time is going into. So yeah, Jason, and it's an excellent point, and it's something that unfortunately more people need to really grasp. So, all right, where are we at here? Yeah, we're doing good. Did I get another response from Mike Pierce yet? I didn't. Mike, I'm hoping you'll give me another answer, man. Give me a shot to help you. So, Gabriel Exchange. I'm setting up a home studio in a room with a carpet. What backdrop should I buy for full body shots? I saw your video about paper with an acrylic sheet under it. Is that best? Yeah, I mean, Gabriel, paper with the acrylic sheet is going to be the cheapest. Certainly, obviously, if you don't want to destroy your carpet and you're going to leave the carpet in place, you could go with vinyl backdrops. They're much heavier. They're more expensive. Now, the upside of vinyl is they don't wear out nearly as fast, so they last forever. However, here's the catch. You still need to put something underneath the vinyl. If it's on carpet, it will still buckle when somebody stands on it. The only difference is they're not going to poke through it when they stand on it. So, so yeah, I would still say, paper with the acrylic sheet underneath, or paper with a piece of plywood or that type, and anything that's going to be solid enough for somebody to walk on it and not flex. That's going to be the key. Okay. And so if you do the acrylic, keep in mind you need to be a thick acrylic, probably like a quarter of an inch. Otherwise, it's going to buckle too. Okay. All right. Let's see. Black Book Lens. Using Lightroom on your laptop, Windows 10. I've noticed when I share my pictures onto an Apple laptop, the colors change. Also on my Samsung S8. Well, yeah. I mean, part of that is because from different operating systems to different computers to different mobile devices, they are going to change, right, a little bit. So the best thing that you can do for starters, you're not going to be able to control it 100%, unfortunately. But the best thing you do, number one, is make sure you're calibrating your devices. Calibrate your laptop. Calibrate both your Windows and your Apple laptops. Make sure that you haven't done anything weird with the phone settings, with the color settings and the brightness settings on your Samsung S8. Because understand that making an image lighter or darker is also going to impact the way the colors are perceived. So when we start talking about your phone, it may not be so much that the phone is changing colors. It may be the lightness or brightness is different enough that your perception of the colors is different. So, those are all things you need to be looking at, and understand that, Apple laptops, you're generally looking at Retina screens, which have many, many more pixels than most Windows laptops do. So yeah, there's a lot of things that are going on there, unfortunately, okay? But calibrating is going to be one of your first steps to try and get things as consistent as possible, okay? Mark LeBlanc, I know you used to be a Pulse buff guy. We've been talking a lot about buff tonight. I'm bound to get hate mail after this night. Did you have experience with Cyber Commander system? If so, what was your experience with it? Yeah, I used the Cyber Commander system for quite a while. That, for those of you that don't know, that's their wireless system where you can actually control the lights with it. It's kind of very rudimentary by today's standards. Obviously, it's not like an LED system and that kind of stuff. The only real problem I ever had with it, though, it just takes getting used to the fact that you're working with these little tiny sliders, okay? The only real problem I ever had, the little toggle switch, it's got a little tiny plastic cover over it. Every single one I ever had, I lost the plastic cover because it just literally slips over it. So by about the time I lost like the fourth one, and they would send them to me. I would call, it's like, I lost the cover and it's almost impossible to move the switch now. They'd send me a new one. Pulse buff, great customer service. I finally realized, like, one little dab of super glue, slide it on, and then I never lost it. And that was the key. So that was really the only issue. But yeah, Mark, if you're going to stick with a buff system, then go for it. If you're not going to stick with a buff system, I don't really know why you would purchase those, because the types of triggers that you're working with, like with Godox or ProPhoto or any of those, they're so much easier. So, but yeah, if Godox is your thing, they're great. They're totally great. So, Let's see here. Tim Satterfield, more buns, more folks. Okay, so you're trying to get more people into your studio. So I get it, it's an age thing, because I can see your profile picture. Not that I'm calling you old, because I have a feeling I'm probably older than you are. But yeah, just if you're looking to get women in front of your camera, don't use the word buns. Not in today's world. We get in a lot of trouble for that. Like, I get it, 15, 20 years ago, that would have been totally cool. And I know you didn't mean any harm, but hey, it's my job to make sure, Tim, if you're looking to do modeling, right, if you want to work with models, I would encourage you sign up for a website like Model Mayhem, or make sure you're on Instagram. And like one of the ways people ask me, like, how do you find your models when you go and travel, Joe? So it's easy. Like, I'll go to Instagram and I'll do a hashtag search. So like, I'm going to Charlotte tomorrow. And I had to hire 3 models and a makeup artist for this trip, right? So on Wednesday, I'll have one model that'll be with me all day for the morning demo and in the afternoon photo walk. And then I have 2 other models also coming in for the photo walk. And I had to hire a makeup artist. So all I did was go to Instagram. I don't even use Model Mayhem that much anymore. I go to Instagram, typed in Charlotte, the hashtag Charlotte models, and then just did a search for the hashtag and found tons of model options, okay? So really, Tim, the answer is just got to ask people, go out and look for them. And where are the, if you're looking for models, where are the young models? They're on Instagram, they're on websites like Model Mayhem. That's the best place to find them. And then you just got to ask, right? That's kind of the key. So, all right, last question here, and I got to run, guys. Sorry. Al B, have I tried the 8mm Zuiko lens? I have. He needs an equivalent for real estate photography. It must be ultra wide, but I don't think he bought it. I have it. Keep in mind, the 8mm is a fisheye, right? Now, you do have in-camera correction that you can do, but also understand that Olympus has the 7:14 zoom, which I also have that. So there may be some people out there that will disagree with me, but I would be, if I'm doing real estate, I'd be more inclined to go with the 7:14 now. For my taste. But yeah, you can do the keystoning corrections and all that in camera through software with that 8mm. But I'm also a really big fan of the 7:14. So that would be another consideration. Okay. All right, gang. So awesome conversation tonight. See, now this, folks, just takeaway from this, because believe me, I try to spread this. I want people to understand this. What I love, so I'm being selfish, but what I love about tonight, there were some people that put some things in that disagreed with me. I disagreed with them. And we were able to have conversation to kind of, narrow it down to what are the points that we actually agree on. Because it turned out in each of those cases, we agreed on more things than we disagreed, right? That's the whole point. There are many different ways to do any kind of photography. And there's no right way, wrong way, whatever. Here at TogChat, this is my classroom. So obviously what I'm trying to teach you guys is based on my experience. If somebody's got a way that they're doing it and it works for them, that's awesome. It doesn't make it wrong. It doesn't make it better. It makes it better for them. So for those of you that had the discussions with me tonight, thank you so much. Because that stuff I love. When we have discussions like that, we all learn something. We literally all learn something, okay? So again, I will not be here this Wednesday because I'm going to be in Charlotte doing the gig there. We will be back next Wednesday, regular TogChat. For those of you that are members of my Tog Knowledge group, we will be doing Zoom chat this Friday as normal. I hope to see you guys there. Again, I have no idea what was up with YouTube tonight, so I apologize for the pauses that we kept getting, but hopefully that'll get resolved soon. And in the meantime, guys, you know the drill. Please remember